Madam President, I respect the views of my colleagues. I respect the views of this colleague especially, and he knows that. We don't always agree on everything, or even maybe most things, but I think it's important that we be able to find ways to disagree without being disagreeable. And I understand that the senior senator from Utah is here today because he disagrees with a particular policy. That is certainly his right. That's his prerogative. He's welcome to freely register his views, as we all are. For instance, we have heard our friend from Utah defend the principle of limited government and our system of federalism on this floor many times. I've heard him and others, colleagues of ours, argue with passion that the federal government should not be in the business of interfering in state or local matters. And yet, here we are as our Republican colleagues try to tell a local government, once again, what it can and cannot do. My friend from Utah has introduced a resolution that seeks to overturn a law passed by the duly elected council of the District of Columbia. And Madam President, I'm not here to debate the merits of this law. After all, I was not elected by the people living in the District of Columbia. In fact, no one, as far as I know, in this room was elected by the people of the District of Columbia. But the reason that these senators have the ability to try to overturn a law passed by the local D.C. government is because the over 700,000 individuals who call the District of Columbia home continue to be denied full representation in Congress. In fact, denied any representation here in the United States Senate. Under current law, Congress reviews all legislation passed by the D.C. Council before it can become law. The District of Columbia is not allowed to even control its own budget. The mayor of D.C. cannot even deploy the men and women of the National Guard in case of an emergency, a right that every other state executive can utilize. If this were the case for any other state or local government, there would rightfully be an outcry from the citizens of that state or local government. I don't believe that our colleague from Utah would take kindly to me or any of us in this body telling the city council in, say, Salt Lake City, a city with just under 200,000 residents, what laws it could or could not pass. And he'd be right. He'd be right. Luckily, the people of Salt Lake City have a senator who has come to Washington, speaks his mind on the Senate floor, and votes to advance the interest of not just Salt Lake City citizens, but the rest of Utah as well. I think that's really, at its essence, all that the people of Washington, D.C. are looking for. For me, the issue of B.C. statehood is not a Democratic or Republican issue. It's a simple issue of basic fairness. For a nation whose founding mantra, no taxation without representation, inspired the longest-running experiment in democracy, we should all be concerned that today, more than 700,000 tax-paying Americans, over two-thirds of whom are people of color, continue to be denied a vote here in this body. Our nation's capital is home to more than just monuments and museums. It is a home to American families who go to work, to Americans who start businesses, to Americans who pay their taxes, to Americans who serve our country in times of war and peace, and to Americans who are still denied representation. Again, it's a home to veterans and service members who have signed up to protect our freedoms, who have risked their lives for our country, and are still denied the ability to have a say in our nation's future. It is home to the hundreds of Capitol police officers who come to work every day at our nation's capital to keep us safe and are still denied a vote in the very institution they protect. For generations, those who call the District of Columbia home have been denied the right to fully participate in our democracy. And that's why we're here today. That's why our Republican colleagues can call this vote to silence the decision made by the local leaders that D.C. residents have voted into office. And that's why they can exercise this federal overreach here today. I said at the beginning of my remarks, Madam President, that my colleagues and I don't always agree on everything, but we do agree on quite a bit. But I strongly agree and want to associate myself with the words of Senator Mike Lee and I think it was 2018, just a couple of years ago. And he said then, and I quote, "We should allow each unique community to develop unique solutions according to unique local preferences and leave it at that." Let me just repeat that. We should allow each unique community to develop unique solutions according to unique local preferences and leave it at that. I could not agree more. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us who care deeply for our democracy and the rights of all Americans to take up the cause of our fellow citizens in the District of Columbia and use our voices to call out this historic injustice and finally right this wrong. And with that, I stand opposed to Senator Lee's joint resolution, and I yield the floor.